Alright, this is for John. He's Romeo Golf 5920. I believe he's in New Mexico. And he participated in the Romeo Golf radio contest that was done, I think, just in the past week or so. And I was contacted by them and asked if I was willing to donate any equipment or anything towards the contest. So I said, sure. I'm also a Romeo Golf member. I'm Romeo Golf 269, although I'm not as active these days because it's just there's so much that keeps me busy and keeps me away from grabbing the microphone and just kicking back and doing radio. So kind of miss those times when I can do that. So anyways, this is what I offered and this is what he's gonna get. I'm gonna ship it out to him Monday, and we'll get this one set up here and get it ready to head off to its new home. Okay, so this is the one that you're gonna get, John. There is PC programming software for it. If you need that, if you'd have to contact me from the website www.scottsradios.com, and I can probably get you a downloadable link to the programming software. I'm gonna program in some stuff that I do on these anyways, but if you need it later, I can obviously give that to you. Alright, so when you first power it on, if you were to just somehow get one of these, and most customers, that would buy this for me, you would have to get it from me in the USA unless you order one from Europe directly. And they didn't do anything to it. It's going to come on in 10 meter only. So if you ever want to use this radio in only 10 meter, you would just leave it like how it comes. So if that's not something that you're wanting to do all the time, you can always revert back to it if, say, your interests change or something, but you're going to hold this and this, and then you're going to power it on. Let me see if I can do this here. It's kind of difficult with holding a camera in my hand, but so there's one band, which is just your 10 meter 2-band. So basically it's more like 3-band because you have 12 meter also on this radio. So then you hold function, and this is going to do automatic reset, and then reset end, and then when you see that, you just power cycle, and then the radio comes back on. So right now it's set to the default. I can change some of that, and I do that in the PC programming. The lowest frequency right now is that. It will go down into 12 meters, so I'm gonna send my file in, and it's gonna change some of the bands and how they're programmed. Alright, so we have it programmed now. So you notice we're on band A. What I've done here is gave the radio the UK FM 40 channel band. We'd need to be in FM really here, but it doesn't really matter for the demonstration. But these correlate to the channels. So if you're not familiar with the UK FM band, you can look that up on Google or something and you can learn about it. It's just their 40 channel CB band for the United Kingdom, and it's in FM. So after that, now we have 12 meter, which are a little bit lower than 12 meter to start, but the voice part anyways. And then it's going up in 10 kilohertz spacing. If you need less than that, you can simply do this, and you can go in between and stuff like that. So that's up to what you want to do. This clarifier right now is set up for R and T together, so basically whatever you shift this to, your receiver is automatically matched. If you don't want that, there's ways to go into the menu and change how this works. So I find that most people these days are running radios that are perfectly on frequency, so there's not as much really need to use a clarifier for like a RIT only, which you can do on this radio. So that's kind of where I stand with that. Lately, when you listen to sideband and stuff, especially on HF or CB, everybody seems to be on frequency, which is really nice from years past. So that's the A band. The B band really isn't anything special. It's just kind of the in-between. There's nothing really there to concern. You can play around with that. You could reprogram it however you like. C band the same way. It's just kind of giving you the in-between. Maybe some guys like to go here, which to get there you would just go 10K like that. So there's that. D band, I think we all know what that is. I do have it going up in 10 kilohertz steps without any gaps to 605, so that's something nice about this radio. It lets you go up to 60 blocks on a band. E band is just kind of basic what it would be on other radios, and then F band kind of is your 10 meter, and it starts way down at the CW portion and whatnot, and then it goes up to 505. And again, if you need to change some of the step sizes and stuff and the spacing, you can do it like this. You can also go in and you can change it to 1 kilohertz step if you need to by doing this. Going into the menu, just right here, we can go 1K. That is a K there, by the way, so now we're in 1K steps. And we can kind of tune around a little easier, so that kind of thing. It's going to default to 10, so, and then you can obviously go where you need to go, so makes it kind of nice. You can also do that here if you need to. Say that you're, for whatever reason, here, and now you can go in between. So whatever you want to do, you can do it on this radio. It's pretty easy to use. That's pretty much that. It doesn't matter if this isn't at 12 o'clock because this is like a VFO in its own right. So if you don't want it like that, then you can go in and you can switch it from this setting to like transmit only, receive only. Actually, this is would be the receive only here kind of thing. It splits the receive and the transmit together instead of being paired together. So it's a little different approach, but it does work well if that's the way you want to use it. But I think R and T together on this radio makes a lot of sense, because then you're not confusing yourself if you don't fully understand how the system works. They do explain it in the manual, so there's also that way, but it's real easy to use this radio, so it shouldn't be too difficult. You can do SWR here. There is a button here. Whoop, not timeout timer. You can make it show it here. I don't really care for that way. When I have this set to transmit, it'll lose the frequency display and show SWR. It'll have a numerical value, so that's how I do it. But you don't have to have it like that. If you want to switch that off, you can in the menu. There's a noise reduction feature. I chose FM because it's the noisiest. Right there, kind of cuts down on the noise. The one before it is a transmit noise gate. Right here, which if you transmit with that on, you'll see NG light up on the display. That's to cut down on like unwanted background noise from your transmission through your microphone, so that's kind of useful in some ways too. NOG in there would be your talk back. Pretty basic stuff if you've used any of the radios that are more modern and made by Anytone. A lot of the features are the same, so pretty much if you've used one, you've used them all kind of thing. A lot of the full-on ham radio guys that may get radios similar to these as donations to do YouTube videos and stuff, I noticed that they really struggle with these type of radios because they're used to a more HF style radio, in the sense that some of the things that you wouldn't know about these radios because you've never used them, that you have to learn. They have no clue what they're doing, and they just literally set the radio in front of them and just start trying to use it, and then they get confused and don't know what they're doing and stuff like that. So, and I'm not trying to like poke fun at them. I'm just saying, like, if you've never used these type of radios and you've only used like Icoms and Kenwoods and Yaesus and whatever else, you probably are going to have a little difficulty, because there are certain things that you need to learn when you use radios like this, and many others, not just this one. So I find it somewhat humorous sometimes that these guys are supposed to be like professional radio guys, that companies are sending videos for video demonstrations and for reviews and stuff, and they struggle with using them. So I don't know why that is, why they don't maybe give it another chance and go through it and use it a little bit first before they try to make a video and demonstrate it, and then they show that they're having difficulty using it, and then they a lot of times say that the radio's not good and it's not usable, when in a lot of ways they are usable. You just have to learn how to use them in the way that the radio is made. So sometimes that's confusion that I see a lot of times on YouTube. So I don't try to do like radio reviews. I just kind of, let the equipment that I have sitting in the background here kind of show how the performance is, and go with that. Radio reviews are subject to the person's opinion, and everybody has an opinion on something. So I'm not one for radio reviews. I tell you if I like a radio, if I don't like a radio, that kind of thing, but I'm not going to sit here and do like a full-on review. I never really do those on my channel, so I can tell you right away if I don't like something and what I don't like about it, and I can tell you what I like about it, and that's basically it. So anyways, we're getting off topic here. I want to do the alignment on this, and then it's going to be done. It's going to head off to New Mexico. Okay, this is the service portion of the radio. So as I've always said before, if you don't have technical equipment to know what you're testing and know what you're changing, then obviously staying out of these radio menus is going to be, something I would highly recommend that people do. You can't just go in here with a power meter in a real basic, like in this situation, like a frequency counter that doesn't have any GPS backing. This one has the GPS time base going in, so we know what we're seeing here is relatively super accurate, and the radio is looking really good on the transmit frequency here. If it wasn't, I would make the change. So that's a good indication that everything's working well. Power high on FM. Of course, even the power meters can, if you don't have a good quality power meter, it's a lot of times not worth going in and changing things either, especially when it comes to peak envelope power. A lot of guys will settle on something that looks good on a power meter but isn't necessarily very accurate. So looking good and being accurate are two different things. Sometimes it looks really good, but then the accuracy is severely lacking. So and then also price is another reason. I think some people go with certain products versus others because it's price effective, and then sometimes being price effective doesn't always mean that it's going to be performance effective. So there's a lot of different scenarios there, and the whole meter thing is just, it is what it is. There's some good meters on the market, but some of them do cost quite a bit more money, I think, and I understand some people don't want to spend a level of money that sometimes it may require. But at the end of the day, if you buy one quality meter in your life, generally speaking, it's going to last you your lifetime, in radio anyways. So I've always said those things. The power meter is really important. If that's the only piece of gear you're ever going to invest in, then get a really good power meter, because it really makes the difference. So right now we're going to check the FM deviation of this radio and see where it's at. It's usually around, I think, 2 point something. And I want to set it to 4. So right now it's at 2.8. You can see up here 4.2 and 4.2, and you can see the waveform there. So we want to make this 4, so we're going to do that, which is going to make the FM just, a little bit louder. You're not going to do more power here or anything like that. It's not what it's doing, but it will occupy just a little bit more bandwidth. And actually, I like to make it about 4.1. So we're just going through the alignment. We're going to do AM power now. I set your FM power. Low power was 1 and high power was 40. And that's, what I mean by that is when you have your RF power, adjustable RF power on the front, all the way up it'll be 40, and down will be 1 all the way down. So this is going to be AM On AM I set these always to 8 watts with the RF power all the way up. Right around 8 watts, as close as I can get it there. And then on the low power, 1 watt, or just a little bit under, depending. And that's good. So now the next thing to do is the modulation for AM. And I need to plug in my oscilloscope. Turn on one of my files here on it, so that way we get a little bit slower speeds of a default setting. There we go, that's better. Everything's like touchscreen these days, even the test equipment anymore, depending on what you get, is touchscreen. So it's, in some ways it's cool, other ways sometimes it's, you can accidentally touch the screen and throw all the settings out of whack. Even the spectrum analyzer's touchscreen. Now we're going to do AM mod. So let's see. Right now it's at about 68%, which when you lower the carrier down, like I did, it does lose a little audio anyway. So we need to get that back. I'm on about 95%. We're on the cusp of 95, 96% right there. That's fine with this radio. Really nice here, one of the nicest again. That's why I really like these radios. One of my favorite radios here, 95, 96%. Okay, now I'll do the high power, which you have a, if you don't understand what I'm doing, you have a setting in the radio for when the RF power is all the way down on the front. That's the low power modulation adjustment. And you also have now the setting if it's up all the way, which is 8 watts. We've already set it to 8 watts. We're now adjusting the modulation on the high power, which is 8 watts. So that's what I'm doing. You have 2 different adjustments, like your older CBs and stuff that only usually have 1. So it's a little more difficult to, you know, compensate. And a lot of times what ends up happening is the low side of it, especially if somebody puts like a swing mod or something like that in like a Cobra or like a regular older CB, they get really dirty really fast because the automatic modulation control is unhinged. It's unlocked. There's nothing there to help control it, and they just become super dirty and nasty. So it's nice with these radios how they've given you 2 different ways to do it, which help control the front and the bottom end of the radio, top and the bottom end of the modulation. So there's the high power modulation. Again, that looks really good. So that part's done. Now we're going to check sideband. These are pretty good already. They made some changes, I think, in the firmware from the model of these I got this year versus past years, and I think they've actually cleaned up the sideband performance quite a bit on them, which is nice to see. So let me adjust this just a little bit. Okay. So right now, this is what it looks like. This is 2-tone. Not really too bad. It's a little, maybe just a little flattened off, but not too much. It actually looks really nice. I'm just gonna measure one reading here. one thing about these kind of radios and a lot of the other, if it's any tone, radio oddity, whatever you might have, when you're running like a CB style amplifier, you may find that, so that's about 22 right now. Let me finish this part of it first, and then I'll go back to what I was talking about. See if we can't make that just a little bit better. The higher the number here, the better is what we're shooting for. You get to a certain point though, and it kind of stops, and that's about where it stops. So right around here is kind of the sweet spot for us. So I did improve it a little bit. And basically what that's doing is just taking some distortion product out of the signal. So that's pretty much what I've done. And only look at the spectrum analyzer. This is upper sideband, by the way. So when you're on upper sideband, you know, our power goes this way. So, but with the two-tone, we're kind of mimicking both sides of it. So that's why it looks the same on both sides. Slightly higher here because, again, upper sideband, but not by much. So we've kind of mirrored the two tones. More or less, if I were to change that and go back to the standard setting here, where I'm using two independent, I'm mirroring them by amplitude is what I'm doing. I'm raising the amplitude of one to mimic the other, but normally now you can see that one tone is stronger than the other. So this is our 1.9, this is our 700 hertz kind of thing. So that's what we're looking at there, but it's really nice now. So we should be good there. Wasn't too bad already from the factory, but a little improvement doesn't hurt anything. Let's get out of this, and now let's put a mic on here, and I'll go back to what I was talking about.